The function we are going to graph is x squared minus 7x plus 4. We want to find the domain and range. There are multiple ways to find the domain and range. Two of the many ways is either to graph or to do it algebraic. Good. With the graph, algebra. Which one would you prefer?
Graph.
Don't sound excited.
Graph.
Graph, the easiest of the two. So, x squared minus 7x plus 4 graph. Oh, 44. Sweet. Well, I should see that. Okay, that is the curve that I get. Did we get this curve? It is a parabola, and it is a simple curve. Look at the picture, and you tell me what the domain is. Bryn, looks like you have the answer. Go ahead.
Negative.
Bryn says negative infinity to positive infinity. Do we agree? Yes, I do too. What about the range? Sophie?
-8 to positive infinity.
-8 to positive infinity. Okay. One of the common, correct answer, one of the common mistakes that students tend to make is look at that picture and immediately say, oh, the range is also negative infinity to positive infinity. Most common, I am sure there will be at least one person who would make that mistake. No. So how do we fix it? I'll fix in the sense not make that mistake. You start looking for the lowest point where you see a curve of some sort. So if you start on the top, and if you go all the way down, it comes down, makes a turn. Once a function makes a turn, unless it makes another turn and goes back down, it's just going up. Agreed? So this curve simply goes up, and if you need confirmation, what you can do is this. Pay close attention. It will save you a lot of time later when we get to exponential, logarithmic functions, etc. Any thoughts on what min is?
Minimum.
Max? Maximum. So the window part simply tells you where you should start on the x-axis and where you should end. Likewise, y min, y max tells you, well, how far should you go down on the y-axis? How far should you go up on the y-axis? Standard setting is that. I'm just going to change, don't put 100. Let's do -16, positive 16. -24, oops, wrong negative sign. Should be that one. 24, enter, positive 24. So starting at -24, all the way positive 24, graph. That is the picture you get. What I just did is to confirm that there is nothing below point where it turns. Good. Experience tells me that that is the curve. You might also recognize, well, it's a parabola, it has to start right here and go up. I'm showing this because there are cases, there are certain functions where between -10 and 10, you may see something, but past 10, that could be something else. Good? I'm just verifying things. So the lowest part this function is going to get right here, that value is -8. The highest keeps on going to positive infinity. If you have difficulties finding that point, the place where things turn, you could always press trace and move using the arrow, and that is the point. Good. Now here is the catch. Whichever number you see there is not the exact answer. It is an approximation. If you want the exact answer, there is only one way. What is that one way? Do it. Louder, Nathan, you are right. Doing it without a calculator, in other words, using algebra, the fun part. With me? Good. I'm going to write it on the side, so if I had to write the domain of this function, negative infinity to positive infinity, yes, range, starting at -8, going up all the way up to positive infinity. Let's say if you remember your algebra, what is the difference between that bracket and parentheses?
Bracket is
Corbin,
Which is like one is the exact number and one's like close to.
I can't hear you, unfortunately. Go ahead, louder, bit louder.
The open bracket is either closed or open circle.
The open bracket is either open or closed circle. It's made it way too complicated. Forgot your name.
Joel.
Joel?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Including the point or not including the point?
Including the point or not including the point. Okay, Nathan.
The bracket just signifies like when it stops and like doesn't go on, but then like with the open, it like shows that like it goes on forever.
Okay, so these are all great answers. So, all the answers. The last two are correct. The one before the last one, what Joel gave us, more correct than what Nathan gave. Nathan's answer was, oh, it just tells you, you know, where to stop. And the next sentence that he added can go on forever. Not necessarily. In the domain case, it is going on forever. In the range case, sure, it is going on forever in one direction. Okay. Joel mentioned whether to include or not include, but did not complete the sentence. Include what?
The point. That's what- right.
The point, okay. Which point are you referring to?
One in the range. like,
Okay, what do you
Negative.
see in the range? If I say pick a point from the range, what would you pick?
-8.
-8 is one, what is the other?
Infinity.
Infinity, very good.
To find the exact like minimum of the range, could you go on calculate value?
Yes,
Or would that be the exact answer?
you can. I will get into it when I get to functions that are a bit more complicated than this one. So whether to include or not include, what Joel was referring to were those 2 points, the 2 y values, 2 x values. They have a very specific name. And points. Going back to what Nathan said, where to start, where to end. If you put square bracket, you are including -8. In other words, y can't take on the value -8. Good. If you put an a parentheses, you're saying y cannot take on the value infinity. With me? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
You should be excited, it's Friday. If it's Monday, I can understand, you've got the blues, but it's Friday. I'm excited, and I have got more work to do. So, you cannot include infinity, never do, but what is the point of having infinity? If you could never include it. Kevin,
Just to show that you can put any variable in there.
variable or number? Number. Thomas,
I was gonna say that the parentheses means that it approaches that value.
fancy word, approaches. Okay, keep that word in your mind. Others too, approaches. So, infinity simply means things are, going on and on and on. It could be 1,000,000, it could be 1,000,000,000, it could be 100,000,000,000. You can simply keep on going. There is no end. But you can never say, I have reached that point. If you want to make a realistic connection, think of galaxies. Things keep on going. Do you know where it ends? No one does. So it's expanding, infinity keeps going, but I don't know at the end point. So, parentheses, good. Easy hint, you never put brackets right next to positive infinity or negative infinity, period. Good. Any answer that you see on an exam, on a test, that has infinity followed by a bracket is not the right answer, period. Good. Easy way to remember. Okay, case 1. Here is another 1 divided by parentheses are important. X plus 1. It's good enough. If you want, you can change the limits. If you set limits and you want to immediately go back to where you started, I believe you press zoom 0 in your calculator. I don't use the calculator. I don't know, but we can give it a try. Graph, zoom 0. That didn't work. Zoom 9. It broke. Okay, we'll get to that later. But you see this picture? Do we see it in your calculator? Okay, now that I have that picture, who can tell me what the range is and what the domain is while I fix this? Nathan?
Well, wouldn't it so be the range? It would be like maybe.
So my calculator is not working, it's frozen. So I'm going to use GeoGebra. There are other online systems. You can use Desktop, SimulaLab, all kinds of things. There was one mistake that I saw as I went around, many of you made that, forgetting to put parentheses. Some of you forgot both the numerator and the denominator. Some forgot in the denominator. You have to put parentheses. Otherwise, you are looking at an entirely different curve. So, in your calculator, you would type, was it x squared minus, what was it?
Plus X.
Plus x plus 4
1.
plus 1, and denominator x cubed
minus 2x
minus 2x
plus 4.
minus 2x plus 4. You don't have to know how to use this, but GeoGebra is actually good. Okay, that is the curve. When you're doing the homework, you're welcome to use this. So look at that picture and tell me what are all the possible y values. All possible y values.
Negative infinity to 1 to 0 parentheses u parentheses 0 to positive u,
Negative infinity to
0
0. Okay,
parentheses u parentheses 0 positive infinity.
do we agree with Sophie? Yes, okay. I'm kind of suspicious about what Sophie said. Can someone tell me why? Closer and closer and closer. On this side, you are reaching 0. Agreed. On that side, I'm getting to 0. Agreed. I'm suspicious because of this part right here. Correct. If you look at that part, that is about how much? 0.1 something. Correct. So one of the common mistakes that students would make, look at this step and say, oh, this is the lowest the function's going. You know, same idea that you did with parabolas. Oh, the lowest point is right here. So that value has to be where the range stops. But what you forget to realize is on the right-hand side, the function actually goes below that point. You have to look at the entire domain. So over here, it is 0.01, but on this side to the right, it is going below 0.01, keeps on going to 0. So even though I had some sort of suspicion over there, it is actually going to 0. But it will not include 0. Good. You may say, well, why did you get suspicious at the beginning? What is the reason? You should ask that question also. If you see something like that in your calculator, where things are coming close to the axis, turns, goes back up, 2 things could happen. Either it got really close to 0 and turned back up, or it touched the axis, then turned. If it touches the axis, this is not the answer. You have to put brackets. Good. So that is the reason why you should get suspicious. Right here, well, is it touching? Is it not touching? Ask yourself that. What about the domain? What are all the possible x values that I can put?
-2.
So you can plug in -2, or is it the only value that you shouldn't plug in?
That's like the x dash.
That is correct. My question is
It's the only value you can't plug in.
louder.
It's the only value you cannot plug in.
It is the only value that I cannot plug in because I have an asymptote. When you said x is equal to -2, you're saying, oh, I can plug in -2. But that's not right. That is the only value you cannot put in. Why is there a sharp there? I'm just noticing it. So negative infinity all the way up to -2, union, -2, all the way up to infinity. Good. My calculator is not working. If you have your calculator, erase your previous function, go to the y equals part, the very first field, press the math button. You should see left hand side. Do we see the math button? Yes. Press math over one step using the right arrow. You would see a whole bunch of functions. What is the very first function that you see? Says odds, doesn't mean you're going to get odds. It is the absolute value of the function. We're not going to get nothing. So you can use odds and put in the expression. I'll do it again for one more time next time, but let's try to do it here. Run your calculator, the CE version. If you put odds, you will see something like that, 2 vertical lines. The function was x cubed minus 16. Even before you start, could the range of the function start at negative infinity? Vincent, you're shaking your head.
Its absolute value can't return negative values.
Absolute value could never return a negative value, period. So, second one, to your face. It is a one in blue. So, remember, I mentioned touch and turn. Do you think this curve touches and turns? Yes? Okay. Before you come back on Monday, give it a try. Write down the range and domain of the blue curve, in other words, the absolute value function. Hopefully, the calculator works like that, and I'll do it. Good?